Hi guys, my name is Daryl, and today I want to show you a leg routine that I put together. This is something that I've currently been using to help with my rehab. I've been kind of limited because of my accident. We're going on about 6 months now. June 15th will be the 6-month mark of the accident, and I'm hoping to have full recovery in about a year or so. So I'm trying to get back to where I was, and it's ups and downs. With injuries, it's kind of a bummer because your mind says get back at it, but your body says no. So injuries kind of humble you in a way, I guess. And and especially with this one, it's been a difficult one because again, I was at a certain point with my training, and then all of a sudden this kind of shut everything down. But it's just one of those things. It's I have no complaints. It's something that it just happened, and all I can do is keep pushing forward. These are some of the exercises that I do now that I can do. I did a video a couple months ago showing my progress the first month of rehab, and so you can kind of see the difference. I was using very light weight. My range of motion was really poor, and because when I was laid up for 8 weeks, I couldn't move my leg, and so it just kind of it got really stiff. So to be able to get that flexion back is really the key, and something that I'm working on. But you'll see in these exercises that I'm just not quite there yet. I still have a ways to go to get to that point, but these are exercises that I found that for me they work well, and I've adapted different things so that I can create different movement patterns. So you got to be creative when you're going through a rehab situation, and you're trying to still isolate the muscles you want to develop. And so with these particular exercises, I'm still thinking about, I'm still trying to develop the muscles the way I want it to be so that I can catch up to my other leg, as well as to get back to where I was. And it's different in my rehab situation because it's not about just being functional and just being able to live day to day. My goal is to get back on stage to compete again, and so to do that, I have to build my leg basically from scratch. And so I have to, right now it doesn't look anything like my right leg. So my the symmetry is way off, and just the definition, the neural tone of the leg is really poor at this point. But again, it's getting stronger. The definition is gone, so everything could have atrophied. And I'm still dealing with that. So it takes about a year to really get that definition back and the size of my leg to match the other side. So it's a little discouraging, but again, I keep plugging away. It's just something I love to do in terms of trying to figure out new ways to rehab and to fix the knee, as well as to still develop and build the leg. And so, I've done all the basic rehab exercises. You go through all those preliminary exercises, and I still do all those. But in terms of bodybuilding, these are some of the exercises that I'm working on currently that are helping me get back on track. And so the first exercise I like to do, this is the leg extension. It's actually the power leg extension exercise. I learned this from Vince Gironda, and I like the table format for the leg extension rather than the actual leg extension you see in a gym, where it will be like a seat, with a backing to it. The best thing about, the really nice thing about the flat bench here is that you can lie back. So this exercise called the power leg extension is that you go into the extension, and then you want to lie back into the extension. And it's a really awesome exercise because it allows you to get full extension, plus you're working two joints. When you're doing the seated leg extension, you're primarily just working the knee joint, so that the bottom part of the quadricep, that's the patella tendon, and you're not really getting anything up top. So where the rectus femoris muscle is, where it attaches, the hip flexors attach, so they're pretty much staying still. But when you do the power leg extension, so you're working both poles of the contraction, so you're working the inferior and the superior part of the muscle on both sides, so the tendons are they're stretching and pulling and you get a really deep contraction because as you extend, you're pulling on those tendons, and then as you come back up, it's like you're almost massaging the muscle, and so you're going back and forth, and so the intensity is really much greater than just doing it when you're just sitting and just lifting the leg up. And it allows you to kind of get that full extension. And so for me, especially with my patella tendon, since I tore that up pretty good, this has just been a great exercise for me because because it allows me to really get that stretch, and I can work on the flexion, and it just really helps with the also the VMO and the rectus femoris, to really strengthen that up and to really get that, that power that I need through that joint. This has just been a great exercise for me, and it's something that I always warm up with because it allows me to really, get that knee joint warmed up. So that's the power leg extension. Then the next exercise I do is this is a great one. This is the standing isolated hamstring curl, and it's been a great one for me because, again, with the type of injury that I had, since my leg was immobile for about 8 weeks, when you get the immobilizer off, your leg is so straight and you can't really bend it much, and so it's very important to start to activate the hamstrings. And so this has been a great exercise for me because you can isolate each leg, and for me to really get that hamstring to fire has been a bit of a challenge, but this allows me to kind of keep working on it so that I can eventually get that the hamstrings to start to fire, because that's what's going to help with the flexion of the knee. So once I can develop this a little bit stronger, then the flexion of my knee is going to get greater too. So then I'll be able to get back to that 120 degrees that I once was. Right now about 90 degrees, but I need to get more than that. And this particular exercise is just very good for that. So all you do is just, you can put you push your hip, you push your thigh right into the pad, then you curl up. And also another thing that I've noticed is that my fast twitch muscle fibers are very slow to develop. So what I'll do is on an exercise like this where I'm isolated, I can actually go much faster and try to activate the fast twitch fibers in a kind of a safe setting. And also I noticed that my proprioceptors, the proprioception is really poor too. So that's another thing that I'm working on. I do that at my other gym, where I can do a lot of agility exercises and balance exercises and so on. But so the two components that I've lost are my fast twitch activation and my proprioceptors. But these isolated exercises really could help with the motor control and the muscle fiber recruitment. So hopefully I'll be able to get stronger and stronger and get back to what I was doing before, which would be the whole stack of weight, but also allowing me to get to that 120 degree flexion mark. And so that's what I do with the standing leg curl. And then from there I go into another exercise. This is something that I developed a long time ago. This is my sort of my creation here. I built this, I call it my Sissy Squat bench. You can do other things with it too. You can do a standing bicep curl. You can do posterior deltoid flies, and you can do all kinds of things on this bench. But the primary exercise that I like to do on this is the Sissy Squat. So I've done videos with this in the past. You can see me go into the 3 phases of the Sissy Squat that Vince Gironda taught us. And there's the knee drop, and the burlesque bump, and then the flushing. And so I would do it on this little bench, and it was great because I can go forward into the pads as far with a knee drop. You can go into that knee drop, and the pads stop you right where your range ends, and then you can go down into the burlesque bump, and then do your burlesque bump, and then come up and do the entire flushing exercise. And this whole bench really works well because it's designed for me so that I can get to the range that I need without extending beyond, or when I get tired, I can lean into those pads. And so now I use this bench from Rehab. And so I've developed this idea where if you can put like a terminal knee extension, put like a sort of a distraction on the knees and on the hips, it just allows 2 opposing resistance forces going sort of against each other here. So you got the knees with bands going around the knees, So that's pulling my knees forward, and then I have the band behind me with my belt on, and that's allowing the hips to get loaded. And then when I stand back up, I'm getting a intense, so I get a really intense contraction on the quadriceps. And I noticed that this has been a great exercise because it really isolates the VMO, which is very important for the tracking of the knee. You kind of lose that, especially like when you've been laid up, and any type of knee surgery, that's one of the muscle groups that's going to really atrophy. And so that's an area that I really want to focus on. So that's why I put the bands on there. But I'm hitting a contraction going that way. I'm hitting a contraction coming back the other way, so that I have resistance going to the back of me. And as I stand back up, I'm really loading the quadriceps at the top position as well. So you're getting the full spectrum here, just like when you do the power leg extension. And then I have a weighted vest on, and I just go up and down, and I'm just trying to get down low enough so I can get a good bend in the knee. And I used to be able to go all the way down, but right now I'm kind of limited, so this is my range right now. And it just feels good to get in this position, and I can really feel the stretching of the knee, the patella tendon, and the muscles around it are getting a really good workout here. So then I just go up and down, and I just kind of find a pattern that feels comfortable, and I just keep working it. And then once I kind of get warmed up with this particular setup, I'll then put my Inferno Bar. I call it the Quad Inferno. For those that have watched my videos, you've seen my Inferno Bar. So I've actually built this harness, and it's an adapter that you can put the Inferno Bar on, and I now call it the Quad Inferno. So it's very similar to Frank Zane's Leg Blaster. I actually got the idea from Frank, and when I went to visit Frank a couple years ago, and he let me use his Leg Blaster. I wanted to buy one, but he no longer sells them. But he gave me permission to actually get the bar and the whole system welded. Could never find anyone to build it, and so I had the Inferno Bar, and then I just figured, well, if I just make a harness, so I was able to make a harness, and so it's similar to Frank. It's my version, and the nice thing about it is that you can use the Inferno Bar for other things as well. So it's just a neat little gadget to have, so that it doesn't take up a whole lot of space in your house or your gym, and you can just put the Inferno Bar right on the harness. And so that's what I'm doing here, is I'm using the Quad Inferno exercise here, using the Sissy Squat bench, and it just allows me to kind of get a little bit deeper. And as I get stronger and my leg gets more flexion on it, I'll be able to go down deeper with this exercise. And so it's just a great way to be in a safe position doing a squat, where I can hold on, and then to really work the strength of the leg, because right now, and so my proprioception just isn't where I want it to be, and so it's just I don't feel comfortable yet doing any type of freestanding squats with weights, just because of my balance. So this kind of allows me to kind of stay in a safe position as I develop my proprioception. Then I can kind of move on and then just do the Quad Inferno off the stand, and have a little bit more control. So I'll do about 3 or 4 sets of those until I hit fatigue, and then I go on to the next exercise. And the next exercise that I do, the Hamstring Roster, which is one of my favorite pieces. I got this from Larry Scott back in 1996. And this is a great piece of exercise equipment. It's something that Larry came up with, and it's called the Hamstring Roster, but it's a combination. It has the Hamstring Roster on one side, and then it has a Roman chair on the other side for sissy squats. So you can go back and forth, but it's built really tough and durable, so I feel safe on this thing, like it's not gonna break. And so what I do here is I use the pole to help catch me, so that it helps get you back up, but you're putting all your strength on your hamstrings. And the nice thing about this is I can really get a phenomenal stretch to my patella tendon. So a month after I was able to exercise, I could barely do this, and so this is a huge step in my rehab. To be able to do this exercise, I can really isolate and activate the hamstrings here, but it's just a really great stretch to the patella tendon. I can really feel it sort of breaking down the scar tissue as I'm doing it. It just feels really good. It might not look like it feels good, but it does. It's a hard exercise, and it really works the hamstrings. and something that, you know, I felt like once I could get into it, you know, that was going to be a key exercise for my rehab. And so that's just something that I add into it. It's a great exercise and something that you know, I'll continue doing. And then after the hamstring roster, what I'll do is go over to the other side, and I'll do the Roman chair sissy squat. Now, as you can see, when I do this exercise, my range of motion is very, very poor, and I just can't get down low enough yet. But the idea of this exercise is that you want to do the hip thrust. So you see some guys just go down like they're sitting down in a seat, and they just come back up. It doesn't really do as much. So the way I learned from Vince is when you're going down, you're actually kind of leaning back, and then you thrust your hips as you come up. So you're kind of catching that contraction. I'm just not there yet, so I'm still working on it, but you can see I'm trying to get the hips to activate and to kind of thrust forward, but I'm just limited because of my knee flexion. But I'm going to keep working it over time as I get to groove this exercise. You know, I'll get back down so I'm getting past that 90-degree position. You know, so when you do this exercise correctly, you get this sweep, and that's the idea of it. So you go and you're thrusting those hips forward, and you can really feel the upper part of the quadriceps firing, and that's a great exercise. So the next exercise I love doing calf raises. Whenever you have a knee injury or leg injury, you always want to work the calves because there's a lot of attachments behind the knee, and this is going to help strengthen it. And so when you're doing the calf raise, you're going to go all the way down, and then you go up on your big toes, so you're turning your heels in and you're touching your heels together. That's a trick that I learned from Larry Scott, and it works really well, but it really helps bring out the size of the calf. And also what I do is I go into what's called the walk-off here. This is I learned this from Vince. These are the walk-offs, so you're doing like this alternating, kind of like you're moonwalking almost on the calf stand. But what this does, I've noticed that this really stretches the calf. This one really stretches the patella tendon as well. So it really helps, especially with my gait. One of the things that I have, again, when my proprioception's sort of poor, like if I step down, sometimes my leg kind of gives out, and I can't position my foot right. And so this kind of helps. Is if you can kind of keep working that position, like keep bending the knee like you're stepping down, that's just going to help reinforce and strengthen those proprioceptors and the neural output. But the walk-offs are great just to build the calves. You know, just do that when you do your set of calf work. At the end, just do like another 20 reps of the walk-offs, and your calves will be blown up. It's a great exercise. And so from there, what I do is I go into the step, and now I'm doing this is an exercise for the knee. It's just a step down, and it looks pretty simple, but at the stage that I am with my leg, it's very difficult. This is something I've been working on, and this is the one that really is a challenge for me right now, because that's where when I injured myself, that was the kind of the position that I was sort of in. And so this exercise really is the one that once I can master that, then I'll be pretty close to about 90% of functional capacity with my knee, which would be great. So this exercise right here is very simple. And what you're doing is just dropping down with one foot and trying to really get as much flexion as you can in the knee. And it's just a safe environment to be in. And so I can strengthen that. You can see with my other leg as it goes up and down pretty quick, and I get way more flexion. But so you can see the difference there. But I'll do those usually at the end when my leg's tired, so you can really try to, again, work the proprioception. And so what it does, it helps strengthen the muscles around the knee as well. So especially when you're tired, it's best one to do it at the end of the workout, so then your neuromuscular system's really challenged at that end point, and so that's what's going to help strengthen that up. And then, at the end, I like to do another exercise, and this is kind of like a secondary benefit, because the primary benefit is this exercise is for the abdominals, and this is the Roman chair sit-up. And this is something you don't really see a lot in gyms anymore, but this is one of my favorite ab exercises because it really isolates the abdominals, but also you do get some activation in your hip flexors. But one thing I noticed so when my foot is hooked around the bar here and I lie back, it's kind of like doing the power leg extension. And what it does, my foot's locked in position, so when I lie back, I get an unbelievable stretch all the way from on both tendon points, all the way from my knee all the way up to my hip flexors. And that's something that is important because when I was laid up for so long and had so much atrophy, I wasn't getting enough extension on my leg to get that stretch reflex to fire off in my quadriceps. So my quadriceps were it was almost like they were just getting really tight. And so this allows this unbelievable stretch. It just feels really good, especially up on the higher part of the hip flexors here, because it just really isolates that position. And not only you're working the abdominals, but it just really gets that stretch. And then it's also stretching the patella tendon. I can only do a few sets of these because after a while my knee starts to really hurt because of the pressure. But I can get away with, I'm getting more and more done. I mean, so each time I do it, I'm able to do more and more. So eventually I'll be back up to that 100 rep mark again doing these. But for right now, this is just something I'm just happy to be able to do again. And all these exercises that I do are just really kind of geared to building the foundation of my leg again. Then eventually get more into the advanced movements of these exercises by adding more weight to them, as well as getting more range on these exercises. Because right now I'm just limited, but you know, that neuromuscular muscle memory starts to kick in and starts to rebuild. And that's what it's all about. So just small steps, just something where I'm at right now, but so hopefully within the next 6 months I'll be able to really get back to, you know, my full capacity again, and you know, hopefully get my leg to match my other leg, because right now it's like doesn't even look like my leg. So it's very strange looking, and sometimes I get a little bit depressed about it because it's just like I'm hoping it comes back, because otherwise I'm going to look kind of deformed. But I'm hoping to get that back and to compete again is my goal, and that's it. If you have any questions, like to email me, you can find my email on my website. It's www.darylconant.com. Guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you next time.